Warning: the following presentation may be disturbing or triggering to some viewers. All information on this channel is provided by the local news and is public to all viewers for your own research. Viewer discretion is advised.
Wagwan everybody, welcome to our next episode of Talk the Things podcast. Today we're going to be doing a next video where I talk about a certain area and I talk about a whole bunch of crimes that happen in that area. We still don't have a name for this series, and in my last video I did yesterday, I was asking people to let me know a name for the series, but nobody never let me know. So you guys try to think of some names and let me know in the comment section under this video so that we can name the series. But today we're going to be talking about a set of buildings, and these buildings are not too far from our last episode on Humberline. So if you've never seen the video I did on 30 and 20 Humberline Drive, go watch that video. But this is just up the street. This is at Kipling and Beacon Hill. So we're going to be talking about a set of buildings, number 2737 and 2757, and they're also known as Beacon Hill Towers. Now, you see, in these two buildings, if you guys thought you heard nothing in the last case, in the last story, or in any of my other stories, you never heard nothing yet, bro, because this building is cross. That's why I put on the thumbnail, is it cursed? Because I'm going through the comment section, I'm going through Reddit, and people are saying the amount of deaths, and just not even deaths, but other incidents. We're going to be talking about the deaths here, but we're going to also be talking about this other incident that's happened in this one building, 2737. It's crazy, bro. People think it's cursed. So some of the cases are very old. And like I always say, when cases are so old, there's not much information that we have on them. So like the first three cases, the first four cases, it's not much information I have on them. But we have about 10 cases that we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to start from the old and come up to the new. So let's start on case one now. So the first person is Jarnell Sign. Now in 1992, that's how long ago this case was, he was found murdered on the 20th floor in his apartment. And that's everything that we have on the story. This happened well over 30 years ago now. About how much? 33 years ago. So there's just not that much information we're going to find. But moving on to the second case, we're going to be talking about a person by the name of Patrick William, and he was 24 years old in 1999. Now, he was involved with a robbery. We don't know if he got robbed or if he was doing the robbing, but what we do know is that he wound up getting shot and he was just dead. They found him dead, and this was on no specific floor. Obviously, it happened on a floor, but the news and the article that I was reading and trying to find information on, it never put out what floor it happened on, or if it was in the lobby or in the backyard, or if it was outside. It never said nothing. We don't have much information. That's everything we have on Patrick William. Now, moving on to the third case, we're going to be talking about a person that went by the name of Jacinder Sign. Now, he was 36 years old. And once again, all these cases that I'm talking about happened in 2737. And in August of 1995, he was found beaten to death in the parking lot, in the back parking lot of the building. So they don't know what happened, if he was jumped. Clearly, he was jumped. They don't know how much by, like, if it was bare people. They don't know what caused it. They just know that he was found beaten to death in the back parking lot of 2737. Now, moving on to case four, we're going to be talking about a person that went by the name of Damien Love. Now, he was 20 years old at the time of this case in October 1995. So just a few months after they found Jacinder beat to death, this happened. Just a few months after, he was shot to death in the lobby, and they said that it was just 25 feet away from the exit of the building. So we don't know if he was trying to run away, if he realized that something was wrong, and the people that were trying to come after him and shot him in the lobby. We don't know what it was, but his body was 25 feet away from the exit, which made people seem or think, that he was trying to run away from whoever was trying to run him down and shoot him. Once again, that's all the information we have on this case. But moving on to case five now, we're going to be talking about a person that went by the name of Sean Francis, who was 22 years old. Now, this happened in November of 1995. So let me just bring you guys back a couple seconds. October 1995, they shot Damien Love to death in the lobby. In August, just a few months before that, they winded up doing whatever they did to Jacinder Sai and left him in the parking lot. Now, this is November, so this is literally back to back to back cases that are happening in this one building. At this time, this one year, 1995, this was a hot year for the building. So anyway, Sean Francis got into some form of argument in the parking lot where he wound up getting stabbed. Now, as they were stabbing him, he tried to run away, and the man was running around the complex. They said he was running like laps around, just running around circles around the complex before he winded up running off onto like the main road and dropped down on the west side of Kipling. And that's all that we have on that story with Sean Francis. Now, moving on to case 6, this is where it gets gruesome because the police them was saying that this was the bloodiest scene that they have ever seen in all of their career. So we're going to be talking about a person that went by the name of Nana Ya. He was 30 years old. He had a wife named Lida Zois, and she was 22 years old. Now, in the apartment 217, it was the husband, Nana, the wife, Lida, Lida's bro, who was 14 years old. His name is Jamie. And there was a next 16-year-old, and we're just going to call that person Josh. Now, this case happened on Christmas Day of 2009. And around noon on Christmas Day, everybody's just doing whatever the regular Christmas stuff. I don't know if they're opening up presents or whatever the case is, but people are just kind of waking up or, eating breakfast around those time on Christmas. And an argument happened. They're saying that an argument broke out over keys between Nana and his wife, Lida. Now, it got so intense to the point where he winded up stabbing and killing Lida. Not just that, the man winded up stabbing and killing the 14-year-old brother. So Lida's bro, I guess you would say, is what? His brother-in-law, the little boy, 14 years old, killed him. Now it gets weird because remember I was telling you guys about the 16-year-old that was in there, Josh. He winded up locking Josh in a closet for a whole 24 hours before Josh was able to break out the closet, escape the apartment, and run over to the nearest police station where he reported all of this. And that's how police was able to go back to the apartment where the amount of blood that they seen, it was just, they said it was the bloodiest thing they've ever seen. It was just blood. The whole house, the whole apartment covered in blood. So after all of this, they ended up charging Nana with 2 counts of second-degree murder. And I don't know, there's no really updates of where he is right now. I don't really know what's going on with him now. He's probably just still in jail. Now, moving on to case number 7. This is more of like a tragedy than I would say like a murder, but it gets weird. This is why people think it's cursed because it's just so much death. But this was a crazy situation. So this happened on Christmas Eve. Last case was Christmas. This was Christmas Eve of 2009. So there's 6 men that are 100 feet up in the air fixing the balconies. I believe at this time is when they were transforming the building because on Google, when you search up buildings, them older pictures show the building as brown while newer pictures show the building as white. Now in Toronto, they're starting to do that with a lot of buildings, especially in the hood. They're trying to like revamp them. So they give them like a new outside. They fix up the apartments on the inside. Almost some of them look like condos. So I'm guessing that's what they were doing here. But while they're up there pouring the concrete, making the balconies, the scaffolding fails, and 5 out of the 6 men drop 100 feet, and 4 out of 5 of them ended up dying when they lick the ground. So they ended up saying that all of this was the project manager's fault and it was negligence and a whole bunch of stuff. And they charged him. And he was found guilty on 4 counts of negligence causing death and 1 causing harm. And I don't know if he went to jail, if he had to just pay a heavy fine, because obviously he didn't mean for going and go murder the people them. But you didn't set something them up properly, and the people fell from how high. All those workers dead. So moving on to case number 8 now, we're going to be talking about a case that happened in July of 2017. It's happened on July 4th in the early hours. There was a 20-year-old woman and there was a 23-year-old male. The woman was pregnant. She was 3 months pregnant at the time of this whole situation. And they're just in their apartment sleeping. It was early in the morning, like I said. So they're just sleeping. There was 2 kids in the house. They were also sleeping, an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. When somehow 3 black men, this is what the news described them as 3 black men, got into the apartment and winded up. And you know what's so weird, before I even get to where I was going to go to, they said that there was no signs of forced entry. So there's no for sure way of how these people got into the apartment. They just know that there was 3 big black men that came into the apartment and shot them while they were sleeping, shot the woman and the man, the 20-year-old and the 23-year-old, the pregnant lady. Now, this started to go big and was going around all over on the news because not too long before this, right around the corner, and I made a whole episode on this. You guys can go look back. Remember the lady, the pregnant lady that got shot in her boyfriend's car in the back seat, in John Garland after they were coming back from, I think it was a Raptors game. That happened not too long before this. So people are saying, what's going on in the city with pregnant women being shot? Now the fact that this happened just down the road, this wasn't too far from John Garland. That was kind of like people weren't thinking it was connected, but it was just kind of weird that that happened. The 8-year-old and the 4-year-old were fine. The people never came after them, but all this happened around 1:15 a.m. So they leave the apartment, whatever, and police got the report at 1:22 a.m. to come over there, come look what go on. Now they wound up surviving. They were fine. The baby and the fetus wasn't harmed, but the man was involved with gang violence. People them saying, and they said that they believe that this was motivated by that. That's what caused this event, was his whole gang stuff or whatever they were saying that the man was involved with. I mean, this is a crazy episode. You guys have to let me know what you think about this situation. Do you live here, or do you know anybody who lives here? Because you guys don't know. I don't really know much people from the West, and I've never lived nowhere near this. So you guys have to let me know what you think about this situation. I've never heard about none of these cases. I've never even heard of these buildings before this. And I believe there was a person in my last video that said you should talk about something on Kipling. So I wonder if this were the buildings that she was talking about. So keep the discussion going, and we will talk next time on Talk the Things podcast.
Yeah, I'm a pretty little Barbie. Got the body up from daddy.